A great USC Trojan, a great man, and a humble man. And one of the greatest hitters of all time. Mark McGwire joins us on the Petros Money Show on AM 570 LA Sports in the LA wasteland of no baseball, bad Laker team, load management Clipper team, and SC and UCLA coming off a loss. Oh. Mark, how are you? It's great to have you on.
Oh, Petros, great, man. How are you doing?
Oh, fabulous. Great.
Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here, Mark. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, he's
you really
there.
went in? You drove in today? You drove in. You drove into the studio, right?
First time I've left the house since the NLDS ended.
Yeah, he's been pretty down about it. And I know you're enjoying the baseball playoffs a little bit because you talk to guys and deal with different guys and give people advice, on the low. We know about that. But how disappointing is it for a baseball team to win 111 games and only win one playoff game? It's like the city over here is shell-shocked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of things didn't go their way. Could it have been that they won the division so early? I remember those days in Oakland. We won the division early. We had 2.5, 3 weeks before the playoffs, and you sort of cruise in. You don't have that, that little chip on your shoulder. Then all of a sudden you have to turn it on again when the playoffs start. Then you have the 5 days off with the new scheduling they have now. So they had to wait for 5 more days, and then they had to play San Diego. And, it just didn't go well.
Mark, when you watch the Dodgers or a lot of these teams, slug is so emphasized. But in the postseason, just hitting the ball on the right side can make maybe as much difference as hitting a solo home run, right?
Yeah, I agree, David. Teams can tolerate strikeouts throughout the season through 162 when the players are striking out all the time. But when it comes to the playoffs, strikeouts just don't pan out. You can't do that. You got to put the ball in play. For example, look at Houston. They capitalized on so many mistakes with Seattle and with the Yankees. Next thing you know, guy hit a double, guy hit a home run. They just capitalized it. You put the ball in play. And I was looking the other day. All 30 teams, Houston ranks 29th in strikeouts, which that is remarkable. They have guys that put the ball in play. They're so well built from top to bottom. They have the starting pitching that goes over 5 innings. They go 6 and 7 innings, which backs up the bullpen. Plus, they have a studly bullpen. Plus, they have guys in the bullpen that were starters throughout the season. But the key thing is you have to have a closer. Their closer's lights out. I know he gave up. I think he gave up like 3 or 4. He didn't hold the lead 3 or 4 times throughout the season. But you know what? He's a stud. You have to have a closer. You have to have a bullpen they know the roles. And then when you get down to the nitty gritty and it's a winner take all game, it's all hands on deck, and anybody can have to be ready. But well, it's just one of those things. I'm a true believer that your starting pitching has to go over 5 innings. And if they're a little, struggling a little bit, they're not really struggling, but they're doing fine. They're not really hitting the ball hard off them. Maybe get a couple runs off them. There's no reason not to have him going out in the 6th inning and have the bullpen ready. What if he gets 2 outs and 3 pitches? I mean, that just eliminates 2 more outs that the bullpen doesn't have to get. And then strikeouts, key situations, getting the guys over, put the ball in play, and then you have guys in scoring position. And that's the thing that really hurt the Dodgers. The Dodgers was, they were not very good with driving men in scoring position. And, they had a tough time throughout the year of scoring a lot of runs without hitting home runs. Not that they didn't do it over 162, but it showed up in the playoffs. And if you're not hitting home runs, it's a hard way of, especially when the back end of the game and you're facing the best of the best in their bullpen, it's hard to get hits back, 3 or 4 hits in a row to score a couple of runs. It's really hard to do.
Mark, the Dodgers' bottom third of the order all season long was a lot of swing and miss, and then you added Joey Gallo, which added even more swing and miss. Gallo never saw time in the postseason, but Cody Bellinger saw a lot of time and then was eventually benched in Game 4. I would say maybe rock bottom for him. I was telling Petros about your 1991 season where you hit 201 and really had to do some self-examination. If you had to tell Cody Bellinger how to get out of this, what would be your advice to try to get Cody back or close to where he was a couple of years ago?
He has to embrace the failure. He has to embrace it. He can't run from it. Can't think that, I did okay. No, you didn't. No. He really, listen, he's such a great athlete. And watching him and seeing what he did in 2019, winning the MVP, he started having a downside the second half of the 2019. And he really hasn't recovered since then. He strikes out way too much. Now, strikeouts is one thing, but if you're getting on base and walking a lot, that's another thing. Now, this year he only walked 38 times, struck out 150 times. That's unacceptable. There has to be some sort of change, something he has to do mentally, something he has to do physically. Listen, I did both. I did physically and mentally. Basically changed I came into the league. I had a big leg kick. I had a lot of movement. Then I went all feet into the ground, learned how to use the ground as my friend. The ground is my friend. The ground is the strength and the stability comes from the ground. You have to have your feet in the ground before you're allowed to swing the bat. Now, if you're swinging on skates, you're not going to be very consistent. I hope something happens this winter. It's going to be a tough call for the Dodgers, what they're going to do. It's $17+ million that they have to make a call on. That's a tough thing when you don't know if he's going to, come back and be stronger. I personally think he has to get bigger and he has to get stronger. I know he's had injuries, but this last year was this last offseason, I believe, was the first offseason that he didn't have an injury that he had to rehab. And I just think he has to get bigger and stronger. He has to do something with his swing, something mentally at the plate, whatever it's a location, whatever he may be doing. But to pay $17 million, that's going to be a tough call.
Mark McGwire is our guest on the Petros Money Show. We're thrilled to have him. You talked about kind of getting yourself back personally and what you have to do. Every team you were on didn't win the World Series, but it happened. Mm-hmm. And, after the disappointment of a team failure like the Dodgers had just a couple weeks ago, how do you bounce back from that? When do you start to feel good about baseball again? How do they find themselves out of that hole?
Well, probably another few weeks. It's when baseball is over with, the World Series is over with, they crown a new champion. And then really there's not that much talk about baseball. You get away from it. If not, these guys are away from it right now. I'm sure they are. Most of them probably aren't even watching. It takes a while. I mean, it's not a good feeling. I've been on teams that have won 100 games. I've been on teams that won close to 100 games. And, I went to 3 World Series in 3 straight years. My second, third, and fourth year in the league, and we only won 1. We got land blasted, by the Dodgers, and then by Cincinnati. So yeah, it's not comfortable at all. But what it does, it leaves with you the feeling of like, God dang, I got to work harder. We got to do something different to get on top of the mountain again. Think about it. So they won the World Series in 2020, the Dodgers, but it was only 60 games. I personally thought that they shouldn't have had a World Series in 2000. I'm not going to take that away from the Dodgers, but I mean, it's just 60 games. That's not 162. It didn't play out the full season. I thought it was great that they went back and played because of the pandemic, and they did the best they possibly could. But I just thought it was a year that you just go out and play and have the guys play and not have a World Series, but they elected to. But that's a tough call to say that, I'm a true believer in 162, and you're seeing the cream come rising to the top. Obviously, Philadelphia has really got it going, which nobody expected at all. They just sort of got it rolling right now, and that's the team that usually gets to the World Series, and they did. I think Houston's going to run the gamut. I think they're really too good to lose it. Should be a good World Series. But as far as the Dodgers, I mean, that's going to be a tough call for the front office, what they're going to do. They have a lot of calls on what they want to bring in Kershaw back. Do they want to bring JT back? What are they going to do with Belly? What are they going to do with the bullpen? What are they going to do with the starting rotation? I mean, they got a couple of studs, with Urias. Urias he's fantastic to watch. I'm in love with Almonte. I thought what he did and came in, really not having much. I know he was up a couple of times throughout the year, but coming in the playoffs and showing his nastiness, he might be the closer of the future. I don't know. I mean, he just looks like nothing bothers him, and he's got some nasty stuff. So it's going to be a tough call. It could be a call that they're just going to say, you know what, we're going to just turn things around and have some new faces and new names come in. I know they got a nice nucleus and Smith and Freeman and Betts and Lutz. But they got some studs in the minor leagues. Maybe it's time to bring the minor leaguers up and have them mix and match with these great veterans that they have.
Mark McGwire is our guest, Petros Money show here on AM 570 LA Sports. Mark, is it a coincidence that the Phillies and Astros have two veteran managers leading them to the World Series? Is it a coincidence that Dave Dombrowski now has taken 4 different teams to the World Series? We hear all these different analytical GMs being celebrated. How good is Dave Dombrowski at having that baseball feel?
Well, there's the happy medium. It's just like he's an old school baseball guy, but he embraces the analytics too. But the analytics is not the end all. I mean, it's like you have to understand there has to be an eye test. And that's where I go when I watch these games and I'm watching and I'm like going, why are we making a move here? What are we doing? It's like there's nobody touching this guy. And when you're getting the playoffs, pitch count doesn't mean anything. You're trying to win the frickin' trophy. If you put the guy out there and let him go a few more pitches, 10 more pitches, is that really going to – you're trying to win the trophy. It's just, I don't know. I've met Dave a few times, but just knowing and hearing from other people that know him really well, it's he lets the guy run the show, and he lets I'll guarantee it's more eye test than analytics, even though they have analytics. That's one thing that cannot ever go away from the game. These guys are human beings. You have to watch the way they're going about things. You can know if a guy is panicking out there. A guy when he's totally in control and he's got this slow heartbeat. Those are things that a computer doesn't know. Those are things that baseball people know in the dugout. And it's just it's not like I get upset, but it's just like there's a happy medium, and I just wish that this whole baseball world would come together with the baseball eye test and analytics. Because you know what? We've always used analytics. We just didn't know it was called analytics. We've always used the numbers. We've always trusted those things when we were playing, especially when, hey, listen, this guy's doing this, this guy's doing that. You know what? My analytics in my head, I know exactly how this guy is going to pitch me. I know exactly how this guy's ball is going to move. I know exactly how this velocity is going to come out of his hand. I don't need a computer to tell me. I allow my eyes to tell me that. And to me, that's the true test. That's a true test. So, but hopefully someday that, the whole baseball world, it's not all about analytics. You need to have really good baseball people with really good baseball instincts that you can marry the two together, and then hopefully you can climb the mountain and win a World Series.
Along those same lines, there has been some scouts around baseball that were watching the Dodgers in September that would tell me they don't make in-game adjustments as hitters. As a hitter, can you not rely on historical data and percentages? Do you have to be your best hitting coach yourself while you're in the middle of that at-bat?
There's no question about it. You have to be your own hitting coach. You have your track record against that pitcher. It's the track record that they might be giving you, the analytics they might give you is the track record against whatever the league. But that, to me, that's okay. I'll take that. I'll process that. But what does he do to me? How does his ball move versus what I'm at the plate? You know, is his ball backing up? Is he squeezing it a little bit harder? Is he tugging his fastball? These are things that the eye test is going to tell you. A computer can't tell you that. You have to do that by watching in the dugout. You have to do that by watching on deck. You have to do that when you're at the plate and processing it and putting it in your mind. The one thing I see that's probably the thing that irritates me the most, and watching the hitters hit, and I see so many pitches being taken, and I'm sitting there, and they're taking to take because they're sitting on a pitch. And I've never understood why somebody sits on a pitch. You sit on location. The easiest way to hit is sit on location. Why are you going to eliminate all these pitches when you can sit on location? Hitters make a living by hitting pitchers' mistakes. Why am I going to go up to the plate and look for a pitcher's out pitch? Why am I going to do that? That's absolutely stupid hitting. Why would I want somebody to tell me this is what he's going to do when you're down 0-2? So what? I know what he's done throughout the league. Okay, but I'm going to see what has he been doing throughout the game? Is he shoving it in the ground? Why am I going to look down and away when that's not even a strength of mine? If he's going to paint down and away with me, I'm going to tip my hat. But I'm going to look in my location. I'm going to widen it a little bit bigger than what I normally do, and then I'll wait for his mistake. Now, if he dots three strikes down and away or whatever it may be, then you tip your hat to him. But the thought is when guys take so many pitches, they're sitting on. To me, that's why one of the reasons why hitting is down. Guys are sitting on pitches way too much. They're not sitting on location. They're not giving themselves a chance to allow to hit the mistake, no matter if it's not the pitch that you're intending to look for. You have to be on the fastball in order to hit the off speed. You cannot be looking off speed and think you're going to hit a fastball. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible to be successful doing that.
You got to know your strike zone.
Number one.
You got to know your strike zone.
It. Yeah, you have to know it. And you know what? And it changes throughout the game, but it changes from you. You make the decision when you want to change it. You are your best hitter, David, just like you said. You have to be your best hitter. You can't let anybody else tell you how to hit when you're in the box. They're not hitting for you. You're the one that has to hit. Trust your eyes, trust your strike zone, trust your location.
I want Mark McGwire to help me do everything.
He's a great guy to have in your corner.
Hey, Petros, now listen. This is all because of my failures I had throughout the game of baseball. I had to learn this the hard way. You know, yeah, I got it stuck up my you-know-what back in 1991, hitting 201. I got it stuck up, and I had to look myself in the mirror and go, how am I going to change this? What am I going to do? Well, one thing I wasn't going to do is put my head in the sand and feel sorry for myself. I said, how am I going to change this? So I understood this is what I need to do. You know, you have to be your own best hitting coach. Nobody else can do that for you. You can work with the hitting coach all you want, but when you're in that box, it's about you and only you. You have to play your game. You can't play what the pitcher's trying to do. Why would you let him dictate your at-bat? You're the hitter. You have to dictate the at-bat. You cannot go after what he's trying to get you out on. You have to look at your hot spot. What's your hot spot? That's where you have to stay until 2 strikes, and then you widen your zone up a little bit more. And that's hitting.
The great Mark McGwire. Wonderful stuff to listen to. We could listen all day, but the freaking Clipper game's coming up.
Come on.
What can we do? You understand contracts. Mark, we love you. Thank you for doing it for your friend David today. It was really great to hear from you.
Got it. Petros, anytime. David, all the best. You guys have a great offseason, and I hope to talk to you through the offseason.
The great Mark McGwire, ladies and gentlemen.
Love you, Big Mac. Know your strike zone.
Take care, guys.
You got to be your own hitting coach.
Guys.
You got to be your own hitting coach.
Guys.
You got to be your own hitting